Hi guys, thanks for potting about with me today, and today we are repotting a dwarf palm which I've had, and we're just going to be putting it into its new home. Firstly, what we are going to do is start by putting in small pieces of crock, so broken pots. Normally if you keep those, you can put in slate, just large stones, to block the drainage holes. Try not to make them flat against the bottom, because you still want the water to flow out, but you don't want anything in the pot to escape or get stuck through that hole as well. Next I'm going to add in some gravel. The purpose of the gravel is just to make sure that the pot has a lot of drainage, because you don't want your water getting stuck in the pot, and then what that can do is it can keep your plant's roots wet and that can cause them to rot, so you really don't want that. I just put in a little screenshot of just the level I think the gravel should be at. I've also prepared some potting mixture already, but I'll get to that shortly. The next thing you want to do, I mean, not to forget it, but it's just I do it in that order, is just clean through the plant itself. Remove any dead, brown or decaying plant matter. The reason for doing this is you don't want any of the energy that the plant is generating to go to anything that's dead, or it's not going to add any value to the plant. So you want this plant to be as efficient as possible in its new home, just so that when it is starting off, it's getting the best environment and the best, energy going towards the new growth rather than anything old, decaying or dying. So just clear it up, have a look and see if there's anything brown, old, sticking out on there, cut it off. Use clean materials, and the cutter that I'm using has been disinfected, because you don't want to contaminate like one plant with another's diseases or anything like that. The mixture that I'm using is a cotton mixture, but I'll get to that shortly. Add some to the bottom of the new pot and then just see the level that you're going to put your plant in at. In this case I saw that just 2 scoops wasn't enough, so I'm going to add a bit more soil. Bear in mind that you don't want your plant to be too low down or too high up. The new soil at the bottom is essentially where your roots are going to grow into, so you want as much space as possible in this case, because this plant might be in there for a year or two. I'm going to test it just to see if that's the level where I want it at, and it looks okay. So what I'm going to do now is just to start to backfill into the pot. Now going back onto the type of soil which I am using, it is potting mix. I also use 50% topsoil on there. You can put in like small amounts of gravel. I think you can also use perlite as well. Generally palms don't need rich soil, so I think just a very rough mixture, if I can call it that, will be sufficient enough for it. And then even during a growing season you can scoop some of the old matter out and put in some new one there, just to give it a bit more nutrients as well. What I also did there was, when I put the plant in, just to make sure that it's level, because essentially you don't want your plant growing at an angle. It can be, it's not difficult to correct, but it is just you want everything growing upright in this case, because of the type of plant which it is. And then with your soil, just be sure to press as much of the new sand down, because you want to remove any air pockets in the pot itself. One of the things that can happen is when you water the plant for the first time, especially after potting it, the soil will sink down. That's just because the water's now taken up any air which wasn't compressed, and then when it seeps down, the sand goes down as well. So you would need to just put in a bit more soil, but that's just normal there. However, to avoid like any large amounts of soil having to be put in, try and compress it. It also just makes the plant a bit more stable, it sets the roots in better, and then just gives it a better chance to grow really. There's a close-up just of the plant in its pot. I just tried to give you a rough idea. I think I am still going to put a bit more soil on top of that, but try and compress it to as much as you can. just giving the plant the final touches of topsoil. Remember to leave a little bit of a gap at the top of the pot so that water can collect there and that doesn't overflow, because you do want your plant to get enough water and not too little water. What you can do as well is, after you've finished just putting all your topsoil, remember to pat it down just really well. Don't be afraid to get your hands in there. I'm going to get to that shortly. But once you give your plant a water, make sure you find it a good spot, not too hot if it is quite sensitive and is subject to wilting. But find a nice spot for it, and then when it does mature a bit, you can put it in a warmer place if it is supposed to be in the sunlight. Well, thanks again for potting about with me, and hope you enjoyed the video. Bye bye.